Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am doing another impromptu video. I'm gonna apologize ahead of time because they're still working behind the building, so you're gonna hear a lot of metal dropping, banging, all that stuff. So, I can't control the environment outside. Anyway, so my reason for this particular video is that I've been thinking about, my failed relationships of my past, and yes, romantic ones, and how we as people fail to not try to be authentic when you approach to a new relationship. Now, I personally, had done the same thing in my past, like put this facade of who I'm not, in order to make that other partner, potential partner, feel comfortable. And instead of like saying, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, and let that person figure out whether I'm the right partner or not, and us as a society, we tend to put up those false facades amongst each other to capture the one that we want to be with. And we tend to forget our own needs, our own personal needs as a person. And so sometimes we tend to do is like minimize ourselves and not being authentic of saying, hey, this is who I am, because you feel very insecure to the point that you feel like if you say who you really are, you're going to lose that potential partner. And so that has been a pattern for me in the past, not to say, hey, this is what I'm about, this is who I am, and create this facade of myself and not share who I'm really am about. And so a lot of times I was just like trying to conform to what my partner needed instead of what I needed too. And so sometimes we as single people, we don't do that. We don't take ourselves as people who have needs and say, hey, this is what I want. I'm looking for a partner, and this is what we want from a partner, and see what happens from there. We just we minimize ourselves and we start to conform in whatever that person is looking for, but yet we are not happy. And this is where we create those mistakes of not being, authentic with others, So it just left me thinking about that and thinking how, sometimes we jump into relationships. Now, a lot of times, and I'm going to say this, we as a society, we tend to romanticize of being in a relationship and say, yeah, I'm gone ho. I want to go in and be with this person because, this person makes me feel good. She makes me, or he makes me feel special and makes me feel uplifted. But what happens when all the excitement wears off and the thrill of being with that person starts to diminish? Now, I've seen people give up on relationships right off the bat and say, well, the excitement's off. I feel very bored with this person. I'm discontent. Sometimes when you're in a relationship with someone that you felt that magnetic charge, you sometimes don't give yourself that chance to make that relationship work or understand the facets of making that relationship work. Because a lot of times people expect to be like this all the time, like everything up, everything is wonderful, everything. Guess what? Sometimes there's days that it's not going to be wonderful. It's real life. There's going to be days that I'm going to have a bad day. And if I come home from work with a bad day, I'm going to say to my partner, hey, I'm not feeling so great. I'm feeling really lousy. And this is what happened in my day. Guess what? As a partner, I'm looking for that partner to say, hey, can you sympathize with how I'm feeling and share my feelings, experience of sometimes life being rough. And unfortunately with me, like I said, when I started mentioning about when you meet that first person, you always look at, oh, everything's wonderful, everything's beautiful, and not share the authentic person of who you are. And you tend to conform of what that partner wants, but not what you want. So with my mistakes of my past, I was doing that. I was always conforming what other people wanted. So when it came to me having a rough day at work, or if something was bothering me, I was never able to express those feelings. And I always felt very little when it came to those situations, because then I just felt like, nobody can relate to how I'm feeling at the moment. Nobody can sympathize what I'm going through as an individual. And sometimes those relationships require a teamwork. It requires teamwork to give and take in a relationship. If my partner's having a bad day, I will sit there and listen to how his day went and offer that suggestion. Hey, why don't you do this? Or give them, an ear to say, I get you, because I've been through it. But when you have a partner that does not reciprocate back to you on what you're feeling, and when the times are getting tough and you're looking for that shoulder to lean on, and that partner decides, you know what, I don't want to deal with this today, I'm really not in the mood for this shit, then there's something wrong in this picture. There is definitely something wrong with this dynamic of a relationship. And so it becomes very hostile home environment. You feel like you can't turn to anyone, because you can't turn to the kids. The kids are going to look at you like, what? But to the person that you love, you can't even turn to them and say, hey, this is what's bothering me. And so it leaves you very discontent and void. And so that has happened to me. There were a lot of times that, when I was first married, I wasn't working at the time. I did work, but not until when my son was a little older. But when I was at home, stay-at-home mom, making sure the apartment was clean, my son was cared and all that stuff, I couldn't sit down and with my ex-husband at the time, my husband at the time, and say, hey, this is what's bugging me, this is what's, I'm feeling very bored and discontent. Nothing like that. Why? Because he wasn't even being receptive of how I was feeling. And at the time, he was going through his own demons that he wasn't even sharing with me. So we always lived in a very isolated relationship. We both isolated from each other. We just share an apartment. We had a child together. But to say that we shared a lot of intimate conversations, that didn't happen in my marriage. And so it became very bored and discontent as the years went by, because I was married for 11 years, and that 11 years was taking a toll to the point that I just couldn't do it anymore. At 32 years old, I was like, you know what? I don't see myself reaching 50 and being like this. Something had to change for me. And so that became a pattern with different relationships that, I was always trying to conform other people's expectations, so to speak. And so I never understood what it is for me to say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want in a partner. Until now I'm single again. And, I see these potential partners and I'm like, well, this is what I'm looking for a partner. This is what because now I'm really stepping up to the plate to say, I observe that potential partner and see how they handle themselves. And now that I'm, much older, and now I'm not as naive, now I know what I want. And I know what I want to look for in a person. Because now I'm not planning to let myself get settled with just anybody anymore. People could throw some pretty words at me, but guess what? It's going to take a lot of work. And men out there going to say, oh, but she's high maintenance. It's not that being high maintenance. It's that men expect these wonderful women to be in their lives and not put out their share of how to keep a woman that they want, that is marriage material. But yeah, we're supposed to settle. I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. You gotta give, 50-50. If you want marriage material wife, guess what? You gotta invest into that marriage material wife. And she will invest with you. It's not like I'm up here, you're down here. It doesn't work like that. Or you up there and I'm down here. So this is where I'm at now. Now I'm just not going to settle. Just anybody, just because you got good looks, chisel, smile, and throw some pretty words, that it's gonna get me to say, oh my God, I found my one. So it's gotten to a point that I'm just like, now I'm being selective. I'm being very selective, and it took me this long to figure that out. And now to be authentic, guess what? I will be authentic. I will be that person to say, hey, this is what I'm looking for a partner. But it will have to take for me to say, if this is the person I really want. Because guess what? I want to meet that person in every category. I want that person to meet my category of partner. because I always picked out partners that were lacking something. There was always something lacking in their lives. And now that I'm older, I'm like, I can't do this again. I can't. Because, it's enough is enough. So this is where I'm at, and I think me as a person, to give you guys an advice, I'm not giving you advice about how you should handle your relationships and looking for potential partners. But I can tell you is how I've been experiencing with these moments in my life, and thinking about how I have evolved from, my early teens, dating till, being married in my 20s, and then, on and off relationships in my 30s and 40s, and then, finally, being single again. I just think us as a society need to stop romanticizing these relationships and giving ourselves this false fantasy to say, when you're in a relationship, it's always going to be peachy. Everything's going to be roses. Because guess what? Those relationships are not always going to be rosy. Those relationships takes work to succeed, to make each other as partners, as teams, to succeed and to thrive. Again, that's why I'm stressing, is like, people, take a step back, reevaluate yourselves on what you're looking for in a partner, and try not to settle for anything that comes your way. Because you know what? At the end of the day, this is your life. You want to be with that person that meets your every expectations. Because anybody could be good in the bedroom. But, after the romance is off, then what's left? Then you're lacking that void. And so I think this is the time for us as adults to really examine ourselves and say, you know what? It's time to be authentic. It's time to, to really see the bigger picture of what we want in our futures with future partners. I know this seemed like a random video, but hey, this is what's coming out. Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully it made sense. If it didn't, I'm sorry. But I mean, it had me thinking about this stuff, and I was just like, wow, it's been a lot. And but hey, we're all learning, we're all growing, and hopefully you get a little something out of this video. Alrighty, so thank you everyone for viewing my content, and please give the videos a like, and if you're new to the channel, you're welcome to subscribe. If you have any comments, or share your own stories of the dating hell, leave it at the comment section on YouTube. Alrighty, so thank you everyone, and I hope to see you soon in my next video. Bye.